I'm 81 years old, and I'm sitting in my kitchen right now, the same kitchen where my wife Margaret made coffee every single morning for 49 years, surrounded by moving boxes, cardboard boxes, in my own house, because 2 days ago, the sheriff's deputy knocked on my front door and handed me a piece of paper. Official, stamped, signed by a judge, said I had 30 days to vacate the premises. I stood there in my flannel shirt, holding that paper with both hands, and I read it 3 times, because the first 2 times I couldn't make sense of it. It didn't compute. The premises, my premises, the house I built with my own 2 hands in 1972, the house where I raised my children, where I buried my wife's memory when she passed, where I have lived for over 50 years. And at the bottom of that paper, the name of the new legal owner of my home, my son, Brian Patrick Calloway. My son made me homeless. I've been sitting on this for 2 days now because I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud, but I'm going to tell you everything that happened, every single detail. Because if one person watching this video avoids what I walked into, then it's worth every uncomfortable word. My name is Harold Calloway. I'm 81 years old. I'm a Korean War-era veteran. I worked at the Bethlehem Steel Plant in Pennsylvania for 34 years, grinding physical work that left me with a back that aches every morning when I get out of bed. I raised 2 boys and 1 girl in this house. I painted every room. I repaired every leaky faucet. I replaced the roof myself in 1989. Me and my neighbor Frank Delaney up there on ladders for 3 weekends straight. Margaret and we paid this house off completely by 1998. No mortgage, no lien, nothing, just ours. We used to joke about it. She'd pour her morning coffee in that green ceramic mug, the one from a garage sale in 1984. She bought the whole set for $2, and she'd look at me across the kitchen table and say, "Harold, nobody can take this from us. Nobody can take this from us." She said that 100 times. She was wrong. Now, before I get into what Ryan did, and I will get into it, every sickening detail, I want to talk about something first, because it's important, because this is the part that could happen to you, or to your parents, or to someone you love, and you'd never see it coming. I want to talk about what love can make you stupid enough to do. I have 3 kids. Ryan is my oldest. He's 54 now. Growing up, Ryan was the one who called. Ryan was the one who showed up for holidays. When Margaret got sick in 2019, Ryan was there. He sat with her. He drove her to the oncology appointments at UPMC in Pittsburgh. That's a 40-minute drive each way, twice a week, for 8 months. He held her hand when she couldn't get out of bed. I thought the world of that boy. When Margaret died in March of 2021, I fell apart. I'm not ashamed to say that. 49 years with a woman. You don't just get over that. You don't just adjust. The whole house felt like it had the air taken out of it. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning and reach across the bed, and she wasn't there, and I'd just lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Ryan started calling more, checking in. "You eating enough, Pop? You need anything?" He drove up from Columbus to see me every couple of months. Sometimes he'd stay a weekend, and I was grateful. I was so grateful. Here's what I didn't know. Here's what I couldn't see through my grief. Ryan's business was failing. He had a small construction company down in Columbus. Did decent work for a while, but the pandemic hit him hard, and then material costs went through the roof, and he had some bad contracts, and by 2022, he was drowning. Owed money to suppliers, behind on his own rent. His credit was gone. But he didn't tell me any of that, not one word. What he told me instead was that the house should be protected. He sat down with me one Sunday in October of 2022, nice fall day. We had coffee at this very table. He had this whole presentation ready, calm, organized. He said, "Pop, I've been worrying about you. This house, if something happens to you medically, they could come after it. Medicaid, long-term care costs. They can put a lien on a house to pay nursing home bills. People lose their homes that way all the time. I know what you're probably thinking right now. That sounds like a warning sign. I understand why you'd think that. Looking back, I think that too. But he was my son, sitting at my kitchen table with genuine concern on his face, talking about protecting something that Margaret and I had spent our whole lives building. He said, I looked into it, Pop. There's a way to put the house in my name, legally, to protect it from claims. You still live here. Nothing changes. I'm just holding on to it for you on paper. And when you go, there's no probate, no legal fight, no estate tax mess. It just transfers clean. He had a packet of papers from an attorney in Columbus, a man named Daniel Greer, attorney at law. His name was right there on the letterhead, very professional-looking documents. Everything explained in calm, reasonable language. I sat there and I read through it. I'm not a stupid man. I work in a steel plant, but I'm not stupid. I managed my own finances for 50 years. I never bounced a check in my life. But I was 79 years old, recently widowed, and my son was sitting there telling me this was to protect me. I signed the deed to my home over to Ryan Patrick Calloway on October 18th, 2022. And that was the last night I slept soundly in this house, because I couldn't have known that Daniel Greer was a real attorney, yes, but he was Ryan's attorney, not mine. Nobody in that room was looking out for Harold Calloway. The second I signed that paper, the house was Ryan's. I had no legal protection, no right of occupancy written in, nothing. I still didn't know. Months went by. Ryan called less. Once a week, then once every few weeks, then maybe once a month. I told myself he was busy. I told myself business must be picking up. I didn't push him. He'd done so much for me. The month that started changing my thinking was April of 2023. 6 months after I signed, I called him on a Sunday to just talk, and he let it go to voicemail. Fine. I left a message. He texted me back about an hour later. Busy today, Pop. Call you later this week. All right. But later that week, he didn't call, and I called again, and this time he answered but sounded impatient, distracted. The conversation lasted maybe 7 minutes. I mentioned maybe coming to visit him in Columbus. He said, yeah, Pop, we'll figure something out. We never figured something out. By the summer of 2023, I was lucky to hear from him once a month. His sister Linda, my daughter, mentioned in passing that she'd talked to him, and he seemed stressed about money. I filed that away. But here's the thing that haunts me, the thing that sits with me at night in these boxes now. I had a moment, a clear, specific moment, where I felt something was wrong, and I pushed it aside. It was November last year. I called Ryan about Thanksgiving, asked if he was coming home or if I should make the drive to Columbus. He went quiet for a second, then he said, Pop, I've been meaning to talk to you about the house situation. My stomach dropped. Something about the tone. He said he was thinking about renting out the property to help cover some expenses, that he'd find me a nice place, Maybe an assisted living community, real nice ones out there, Pop, you'd have people around. I said, Ryan, that's my home. He said, technically, Pop, it's in my name. Technically. That word, his mother's green coffee mug was sitting right on the counter when he said it. I looked at it while he talked, and I couldn't hear the rest of the words, just that one. Technically. I thought that was rock bottom. I was wrong. I called a lawyer in January, a local woman here in town, Patricia Hoff, who handles elder law and real estate. She was patient with me. She pulled the deed. She walked me through what I had signed. She looked at me across her desk. Nice woman, reading glasses on a chain around her neck. And she said, Mr. Calloway, I want you to understand your position clearly. This is a clean, unconditional transfer of title. He owns the property. You have no documented right to remain. She was very kind about it, very gentle, but she may as well have pulled the floor out from under my feet. I drove home from her office and I sat in the driveway for 20 minutes in this driveway, and I looked at this house, the house I built, the one with the white window trim I painted 2 summers ago. The mailbox Margaret picked out in 2007 because she liked the little iron rooster on top, and I wept. I haven't cried like that since Margaret's funeral. That wasn't the end of it. I called Ryan the next day. I told him I'd spoken to a lawyer. His voice changed immediately, went cold. He said, Pop, I didn't do anything wrong. It's all legal. Then he said, and I will remember these exact words until the day I stop breathing. He said, you signed the paperwork voluntarily. No one forced you. You signed the paperwork voluntarily. My son said that to me. I put the phone down and I sat in this kitchen and I thought about that boy's whole life, how I coached his little league team, how I stayed up with him when he had pneumonia at age 7, how I co-signed a loan for his first truck when he was 22, how I drove 400 miles to Columbus in a snowstorm when his first marriage fell apart, just so he wouldn't be alone. And the sentence he came up with after all of that was, you signed the paperwork voluntarily. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, why didn't you have your own lawyer review it before you signed? And that is exactly the right question, and I don't have a good answer for you. I trusted my son. That's the whole answer. I trusted him the same way you trust someone after 50 years of evidence. I had 52 years of evidence that Ryan was a good man, a trustworthy man, and it turned out I had 52 years of evidence about a person who doesn't exist anymore, or maybe never existed the way I thought. I have a buddy named Walt Morrison, known him since 1976. We were in the same union local at the steel plant. Walt has a saying he used to use about business dealings. He'd slap the table and say, Harold, when it's money involved, everybody gets a lawyer. Your wife, your brother, your priest, everybody. I laughed at that every time he said it. Walt's been gone since 2018. Heart attack. Died before I could tell him he was absolutely right. Don't be Harold. Get a lawyer. Get your own lawyer. Not a lawyer brought to the meeting by the other side of the transaction. Your own. Before you sign anything that has your home on it, doesn't matter who's asking, doesn't matter what the reason is. I'm 81 years old and I'm telling you this with cardboard boxes stacked up behind me. A house I built brick by brick is gone because I didn't do one simple thing. Now here's what I want you to understand. This is the part that matters most to me, the part about the real cost. It's not the house. I know that sounds insane. Let me explain. The house is devastating. It's 52 years of my life. It's where Margaret lived and died. It's where I have a patch of stubborn rose bushes in the backyard that she planted in 1991. Pink ones, she loved them, and they still come back every May. Every single May, without fail. Losing the house is devastating, but the thing that truly broke something in me is watching who Ryan turned out to be, because that's not reversible. I can find somewhere to live. I'm in talks with Linda now, my daughter. She's furious. There are legal options Patricia Hoff is exploring. Elder financial exploitation laws. Questions about whether the transfer was properly counseled. I might get the house back. I don't know yet. But I can never unknow what my son did. And I can never unknow how he talked to me when I confronted him. You signed the paperwork voluntarily. That sentence is permanently inside my chest now, like a splinter you can't reach. And here's the part that keeps me up at night after the anger passes. Not the betrayal, something else, the waste. I have been so careful of my money my whole life, so serious about protecting what we built. Never took a vacation we couldn't afford, never bought a car we didn't need. Margaret wanted to go to Ireland one year. Her grandmother was from County Clare. Her grandmother's actual house was still standing out there somewhere. We could have gone. We had the money. I said we should save it for later, for retirement. We never went. And now, later is sitting in my kitchen in cardboard boxes. I want to say something directly to you, to whoever's watching this. If your parents are older and they own property, talk to them, not to get something. Talk to them about this, about the real risks, about never ever signing a deed over to anyone without independent legal counsel. Not for estate planning, not for tax reasons, not because someone scared them about nursing home liens, none of it. If you are the older parent, listen to me carefully. Your home is the most powerful thing you own, and the second it's out of your name, it is gone, not probably gone, gone. It doesn't matter if it's your child, your grandchild, or somebody you've loved for 50 years. Get a living trust. See an estate attorney, your estate attorney, not someone's cousin, not someone else hired. An attorney who works for you. They can protect the house from nursing home claims and keep you in it for the rest of your life and still get it where you want it to go when you pass. It costs maybe $1,000, $1,500 to $3,000. That's it. For a house worth 10 times that. I keep thinking about the attorney Ryan brought to the meeting. Daniel Greer, smooth, professional, unhurried, had a real wood desk and a real law office. I remember thinking, this man seems honest. Even remembered the tie he was wearing, dark blue with small white dots. He was honest to his client. His client just wasn't me. That's the thing about predators in nice shoes. They look completely reasonable right up until the moment they're not. Now, I want to say something I haven't said to anyone yet. I'm not collapsing. I want to be clear about that. I'm 81 years old. I served this country. I survived 34 years in a steel plant. I outlived a disease that took my wife. I'm still standing, still sharp, still capable of signing my own paperwork. And whatever happens next with this house, wherever the legal process takes this, I'm going to be all right. Because the house is just walls. Margaret isn't in those walls anymore. She's somewhere I'll get to eventually. And when I do, I'll tell her what happened. And knowing her, she'll look at me and say, Harold Calloway, did you go 50 years in that steel plant without letting one person take advantage of you just to let your own son do it at 79? and she'd be right, and I'd have to laugh because she was always right. I'm going to close with this. Pick up your phone right now. Not after this video. Right now, while this is still in your chest, call your parent. Call your grandparent. Ask them what's in their name. Ask them if anyone has ever approached them about protecting their house. Ask them if they've seen an estate attorney in the last 5 years. That phone call could save their home, could have saved mine. Stop waiting for the right moment to have the hard conversation. There is no right moment. There's just before something happens and after. Don't let your family find out after. If this hit you, share it, because there are 100 Harls out there right now, sitting at a kitchen table, about to sign something they can't take back. The only difference between them and me is whether somebody warned them in time. I'll keep you updated on what happens with the house. But for now, I've got boxes to unpack somewhere else. You go call your mama. You go talk to your family. And for the love of everything holy, stay on the deed to your own house.